Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow and it's time to talk Season 4, kind of a mini review. I've been playing this game non-stop since the launch of Season 4 and I want to have a look and talk about how that's gone and what I think. Overall, I'm very positive, but there's some seriously important feedback and little things that I am concerned about. Starting with the first topic, leveling. Absolutely perfection. That was so much better. I guess I'm at the point now with Diablo 4 where I played, the betas, the preseason, all the seasons, where I'm like, okay, give me a button to put me at level 100 where the content starts. But no, this path of progression just felt right. I believe after my first day of playing, I was around level 75 or 80 or something like that. And the world's fastest levelers, they did it in about 7 hours. It took me like 2 days to get there myself. And maybe for your average player, it took a couple days longer than that. Reaching these higher levels is where all the content really is. You start to diversify what you're doing. High level Nightmare dungeons for glyph XP, Helltides for the rep, Whispers for gold, which is now really important, hunting down those summoning materials to kill the ladder bosses, and then obviously the Tormented versions. You got the gauntlet that basically no one plays, and then you got the pits where we're actually getting the important masterworking stuff. It's quite varied and enjoyable, more enjoyable than any other thing I've done in all the seasons so far of Diablo. This gearing process and getting to my ideal set I have really enjoyed, and that's why leveling needs to be quick. The bit that I've enjoyed the most is now the end game, so I think that's perfect. I don't think they need to make it quicker, and certainly not slower. Speaking of the gearing process, the new itemization, this is fantastic. They made rares pretty much useless because they can only have 2 affixes, which means legendaries really matter. The legendaries now come with 3 affixes maximum, so it's much easier to sort through and look at, the process of going, is that a good piece or not? Then you got things like greater affixes, which is just pure RNG. Maybe you get a bit more max life or crit strike chance or something. Hunting those is great. You can do obol farming to specifically target pieces of gear, like chest pieces for me, or maybe whispers. But despite the fact that legendaries are so valuable and you want to collect so many of them, the codex actually working as it should have been since the start is just wonderful. It means that the stash space issue we've all been having for the whole life of Diablo is gone. Every aspect you care about, a low roll, medium roll, high roll, you can put into the codex, it's gone, and then you pull it out whenever you need to. Then you got things like tempering and masterworking, which I think both are conceptually fantastic. Tempering overall, I have been very happy with. You get to choose specifically what you want to roll for. You have a limit amount, so you might brick the item, which encourages collecting multiple versions or copies of the same thing to try to get the right tempering rolls. It becomes actually very satisfying because the threat of bricking an item means the success of getting the actual tempers you wanted is very relieving. You need like the threat or negative, the bad feeling, to have the good feeling. On the other hand, you got masterworking, which is basically just all of upgrading, but instead of just boring stat increases, we now have that chance, one of the 5 to increase it. Take my chest piece again, the Golem Mastery that I've been hunting. I spent about 70 million gold doing masterwork resetting and trying again and again just to get that hit. The process was frustrating, but I can say with certainty the feeling I had when I actually hit Golem Mastery, not once, but twice, was incredible. And if a system can make me feel that good and feel like I've just earned something and put work and effort to achieve this, I like that. I think that's a good thing. Obviously, it was overly expensive materials wise, or the cost of them, or the transferring of higher materials to lower materials, ridiculous, but they did that recent hotfix. So that brings us to the gold situation. I like that gold has a value. I like that gold is really important and harder to come by. They may have gone too far with it, and ultimately doing whispers back to back over and over is fine, and you earn that money, but it's the only real way to earn money right now. I think that's the real issue here. I should be getting a lot more gold from everything I'm doing, from vendoring, from salvaging. I think I should probably have about double the amount of income of gold that I do have right now, because ultimately I have to stop and farm whispers every day for probably about an hour so that I have gold to do what I'm planning on doing over the next couple of days. I can solve that by trading. I have a lot of top roll stuff from all the bosses I've been killing. I could probably sell a bunch of these items and make a few 100 million gold. I'm not sure whether they want us to be trading, but as there is no proper in-game system, I don't like it. There's no in-game marketplace or auction house that I can reliably use. We have to go to third-party websites, and I don't want to give them my information. Trade chat is terrible for trading, so basically the gold gold situation, I think it's good on a good basis, but there should be more sources of gold, and we need an in-game marketplace, a proper trading system, if you want that to be a way we get gold. Now, speaking on loot, drops are feeling great. You can actually get good loot, like say a greater affix drop, on something that really matters to you anywhere. Helltide, in a dungeon, whatever. That's a really good feeling. It makes loot generally feel more valuable. But when it comes to materials, I'm not sure if they're going too far or not. Look at the gem thing. Gems, actually getting the gems you want, the highest levels of them, is pretty slow, a tough process. You have to really collect those shards of gems, but it's been a satisfying journey that I've finally about completed, because ultimately, you know, once I've crafted all the gems I need, I can take them out of any gear and put them into another. There's no cost. So I like that arc, that journey I've had over like a week and a bit. For the rest of season 4, I'm not going to need to worry about it. I've got my gems. So I think that's good. But on the other hand, the gem slots, that's been a bit too much, right? Adding a gem slot to a piece of gear requires scattered prisms, and they're so painfully rare that it's very difficult to regularly have the slots you need on your gear, and I put it off for a long time. I didn't like that. So they've probably gone a bit too far on that. But that's another good example of how they've taken something, made it more scarce, more satisfying, gone a bit too far, but the base there is good. It's just number tweaking, no problem. What isn't number tweaking is Iron Wolves, you know, the seasonal story. That's been pretty terrible. It's been literally nothing. It's just another rep system slapped on that we've had since season 2. That was a small part of season 2, by the way, not the main thing. And here now, later, when we already know that system, it's the main thing. Obviously, it's because they had no room to develop more content. The new itemization feels like its own new power system, and it refreshed everything. So, you know, all the builds have changed, and what's going to be good and bad has changed because of that. It's so worth it and fun despite it. But yeah, obviously it's still disappointing that we've got no proper season story or power or whatever. On the other hand, we do have Helltide Reborn, which is basically the Iron Wolf stuff. They slapped unique whispers on the Helltide. They put the ritual in to farm that out, if that's what you want to do. Something we saw in season 3 was a lot of that kind of ritual mechanic. The threat meter thing is great. You're doing anything, you're spawning extra mobs on you, which means more cinders. Those profaned mind whatever that increase the level and increase how many cinders you get, but also more threat. That's brilliant too, like a gamble thing. Hell, they could go further with that. The fact that they put so much stuff in there, like we get loads of different boss summoning materials, which is wonderful. The XP of Helltide was brilliant too. It's obviously where we spent most of our time leveling. I think Helltide Reborn has been a very good win for the dev team in general. If they could just kind of do what they did to Helltide to, I don't know, whispers, to make them way more interesting or varied, or dungeons or some other system, clearly it's worth the dev time. Something they wanted us to do really badly in the past was Nightmare Dungeons, and they're now dead because pits have obviously replaced them. But they're still an important part of the process because, you know, when you're leveling, at a certain point you're just in Nightmare Dungeons, and then also in endgame, you want the glyph XP. What they did is they took the glyph XP and massively buffed how much you get to make that process fast and a quicker, much better task to do. Once it's done, and it's quite satisfying to complete, but it also does not take that long. So they've rebalanced that in a fantastic way. What about the ladder bosses? Well, they took the old ladder bosses and changed the numbers a little bit, slapped in the new Tormented versions, so level 200. Just more health, which is a big thing. More damage, but not a big thing. I think it's overall great. It kind of refreshed them, made them more interesting, made them more challenging, and gives us more of a target dummy to test our potential of our builds, and I like that too. What I don't like is that they all require 2 Stygian stones, and specifically, these stones are way too rare. I found 2 in all the time I've been playing. I've got some from, say, the season journey and other stuff like that, the rep system, but I've probably summoned about 4 of these things myself. If it wasn't for the fact that, like, we're a big YouTuber channel with a community to rely on, I have no idea how we'd ever summon tormented bosses regularly. It's like impossible, and that's what your average player is dealing with. So I guess my perspective's warped on this. I've only ever seen 2 drop. Also, there's that new boss, Andariel. I think that's a brilliant balance of mechanics, but not going too far with, say, like OG Lilith back in preseason was just nuts. And Andariel's certainly a lot more challenging than Duriel, and they made it so both of them have the same kind of loot pool. So we don't only have to kill Duriel, and also if we have different summoning mats, it's still valuable. Making half the bosses actually matter, it's nice. One downside to the whole Torment summon system, though, is that they all require 2 of these stones. The truth is we're only doing Duriel and Andariel, so you're wasting your stones if you put them into any other boss. That's a flaw in the system. Maybe it should be 1 Stygian stone for all the other bosses, or something else. Okay, so the pits. These have been a great way to push the potential of your class and build. I think the balance of the every 20 to 30 levels giving you better rewards from masterworking really encourages you going in there. It's like harder nightmare dungeons, and that's kind of what the game needs at this point. The abattoir, but balanced and organized in a better, more rewarding, relevant way. But again, it does devolve into essentially become immortal. Okay, now you're immortal. How much DPS can you achieve while still being immortal? Basically slapping yourself against health bars, not dodging, not doing mechanics, a DPS check while also being immortal. To me, that's not really skillful at all, and I think that's not interesting mechanically either. Most people, I would assume, much like the abattoir, are not going to care about that at all. So pit level, I don't know, 1 to 100, fantastic. Beyond that, what's the point? Maybe they could do something to this curve of interest and purpose, but the balancing is quite complicated. Overall, I think pits are great though. On the other hand, we have Gauntlet. No one's talking about it. No one's really doing it. No one seems to care about it. I think they're nice conceptually, but I guess it's just not hit the mark for the players like people thought it would. I thought the Gauntlet would be more fun than it is. It's not really worth doing, and I'm glad that it's not worth doing because I don't know, I just don't really care for it. People obviously care way more about pits and that kind of thing. So it's a good foundation that they've got there with the Gauntlet, but maybe they could shift it, twist it, change it in some way. Basically redesign it using those concepts and see if they can create something more fun and worth doing. Now, personally, I'm playing Minion Necromancer. I'm very relieved to find that Necromancer is the strongest thing right now, at least in terms of output, because I've been playing a Necromancer as my main class since, preseason, since the betas. We've had some seriously dire times, but they haven't fixed anything really. What they've done is they've changed how the minions gain power, and that's been great, but they haven't improved the AI at all. The golem is all my damage, and very commonly it's just standing there or stuck in a wall, or maybe I've gone through a doorway and that's just broken it. Super common that I have to reset it by pressing the golem slam, which means all of my damage is just stopped, and I have to work out why the golem stopped and fix it quickly. It's not a massive thing. It only happens like, for half a second, but in half a second, I could be dead in high level pits. And when that half second happens commonly, it kind of gets annoying. Also, it'd be nice to see a fix for the minion's ability to keep up with you. And yes, for the love of God, give us a way to control what they target with a new button specifically for that. Companion AI is pretty weak in general in Diablo 4. I think it needs improvements. And yeah, it's just going to become more obvious in higher pits where they let you down. Also, we have this crazy Holy Bolts bug. It's causing ridiculous burst from Minion Necromancer. There's no skill in it. It just suddenly procs ridiculous damage. It makes Minion Necromancers look even stronger than they actually are. So I actually want them to fix that. We'll see if they do. Class balance for Season 4 has been pretty good. Barbarians are showing up really well for their survivability in the pits. Necromancer's obviously got ridiculous output, but not as much survivability. Sorcerer's got really good survivability, but not enough DPS, at least competitively. Rogue is doing surprisingly well with their Heartseeker basic build. It's been great to see a swap there. But I do feel that Rogues deserve a bit more reward for all the effort they have to put in, just in terms of APM and, moving around. They lack the defenses of everyone else. Druid, I think, deserves a lot of love in terms of leveling and getting its builds online. It almost needs some kind of redesign. I think it relies too much on uniques that get its transformations functional. I think they should remove that completely and just put it in the skill tree or something. But yeah, right now it feels like in terms of class balance, they got 3 out of 5 mostly right. Maybe we'll see some improvements in Season 5. But in conclusion, I think this has been a fantastic refresh of the game. The itemization's been a colossal win. Leveling is just perfect right now. I like it where it is. Endgame's feeling way better because of the itemization, the new Tormented bosses, the kind of drops, the faster glyph XP, interesting stuff like limiting gold gems and gem slots. Maybe they've gone too far with that, but yeah, tweaking numbers, not a big problem. This is a much better foundation to build on. It is not perfect by any means, like no seasonal story or seasonal power is ultimately a letdown, even if I understand why. But I do feel that the endgame is going to feel pretty stale very soon. Once most people have what they want and they've pushed the pits to the point they care, which I don't think will even be tier 100, that's just going to be it for Season 4. I think we need more endgame options and types of content. The underwhelming gauntlet could get a rework like the Helltide did. The process itself has been significantly better and I'm really happy with it. But long term, I think we need way more fresh content on top of this new foundation. Personally, I think Season 4 has been the best season of the game, even though there wasn't as much content like in Season 2. Just imagine if the game launched like this. They could have spent all this time, all those seasons, just adding new content to what was already good. But hopefully that's where we go forward from here. With how things stand right now, I would say people are going to look at Season 4 and think this was a lot of fun, but I'm done with it now after like 3 to 4 weeks. Is that bad? I don't think so. The player base is bigger than I've seen it in a while, and it's been a lot of fun going through the process. If they're able to extend how long people play at this kind of higher numbers, that'll be great. But yeah, let me know what you think. We've bounced around a lot of different topics today, but that's the point of a discussion like this. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.